Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
All right. Good evening at 6 o'clock and welcome to the Bellows Falls Village Trustee regular meeting. It's Tuesday, August 11th, 2020, and we are down here in the Rockingham Lower Theater. But of course, those of you who are on Zoom know that there is an address you can get on the Rockingham website in order to attend if you wish not to do it in person. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Before we start, I'd like to make sure we cover a few rules of procedure. There has been some concern of people who are coming in I want to remind them, and occasionally it's a good idea to do so. We have rules of procedure that we mutually sign with the Joint Select Board. They're on the wall here. We are supposed to preserve order. That is what the chair does. That means everyone needs to be civil and talk decently to whether it's the public, or the public speaks to us, or any of our co-members as well as staff of the municipality of Bellows Falls or Rockingham. No single member of our body shall have authority to represent or act on behalf of the body unless by majority vote. The body has delegated such authority for a specific matter. I just wanted to cover that because each one of us is individually, even though I'm the chair, I do not have any more control than any other member. Meetings give time for everyone to speak. We have public comment. There'll be 3 minutes per person when we get to that section in our meeting, and you are allowed a minute per item on the agenda. I just want to make sure that it is understood. If someone wants to speak longer, we would have to give permission as a board to do so. Otherwise, it's 1 minute per agenda item. But I don't have a problem with people speaking on items that are on the agenda during the public comment when you have 3 minutes. So, any additions to the agenda for routine administrative matters and or pressing matters that require ratification at a future meeting?
I don't
Do you have anything? I would like to add one item. We can, just because it's for discussion, we won't be settling anything or taking any actions. It probably needs to go under finances to discuss preparing a policy for sale of any village equipment. We realize that we don't have one. And we have some concerns about previous sales on equipment that has occurred over the years with village equipment, so we'd like to discuss starting a policy. So if you could put that at the very tail of number 1, finances.
Deb?
Yes.
Are we going to say anything tonight about the manager's search?
We anticipate a meeting on the 18th.
On the 18th,
August,
okay.
where we would all come together as a joint board and discuss our choices at that point.
Okay.
Did you have something, Wade?
Are we going to discuss the Herrick's Cove thing?
We did at the last meeting. If we want to talk about that, I would suggest doing it under one of the police items. We can do it under 4. How about after the format change, just so it puts in there? Because we did discuss it, and we didn't make any decisions if you were happy with what's going on or not. So we will add it there. Anyone else? We all set? Okay. Moving on, approval of the minutes for June 14th regular meeting and July 28th special meeting. We can do those together or separate. What is your pleasure?
Motion to approve the minutes for the June 14th regular meeting and July 28th.
Need a second?
Second?
Yes, I think I thought. I don't know. Okay, is there any discussion on the minutes of July 14th or July 28th? I had one thing, maybe. I guess these pages aren't numbered, July 14th, page 1, under the BFPD update. I thought there was additional discussion concerning the fire truck, but it doesn't show up here at all. And I know we did. That's not in there. What we were doing, what was planned, what they intended to do. That's a concern when you consider what we want to do for a sale policy. Second page under Herrick's Cove, I believe the language here indicates that there's an intermunicipal agreement, but we don't have an agreement with Greater what do you call it, is that GRH, Great River Hydro. Our intermunicipal agreement is only with the town,
Right.
and we don't have one for Herrick's Cove at all, I don't believe, so that's another reason for that discussion. That's my only comments on that. And anything, if there's nothing further, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, we've approved the minutes. On to public comment on items not on the agenda or as public comment on items. Anyone wishing to speak in the public? I don't see any hands or requests. Is that it? Okay.
Jimmy Mitchell would, but,
He can't see, he looks like he's trying to talk, but he has no volume.
yeah.
Mr. Mitchell, we can't hear you at all. It looks like your mic's on, but there's no volume.
That,
Oh, it's not that, I guess. Well. We're attempting to see if it's on our end. Oh, his picture just disappeared.
No.
Oh,
Oh, there we go.
All right.
Now we
Can
have
you
it.
hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah, I want to bring up a few things. Talking about
3
Harris
minutes.
Cove, number one, I'm very upset that we're spending an hour and a half, 2 hours visiting with our ex-detective lieutenant in Harris City Public Court. It's Sergeant Mario Petty. He's also been in Walpole pulling cars over last Friday. I know that we have physical abuse, misleading, but we do not do trucks in the state of New Hampshire as the revenue does not to us. All right, so please ignore that, because there's a case of overtime here. It's being out of control. Now, also, my understanding is the YMCA has been sold for $25,000. I know that we have liens on that, and I'm hoping that the new buyer who plans on putting in senior assisted living housing pays the back taxes and whatever he's doing, because I know the town or the village has liens on that property.
Supposed to be.
And
We do.
We do.
yeah, and also, I don't know if you're aware, if we have any needs to pay about construction from Mr. Babe passed away, and, you know, the better time to grab the state, because we lost over $1 million due to that Babe fraud at the Rockingham Library, and I have a long memory, I don't forget things like that,
Thank you.
so. Thank you.
Thank you. My question on the why is it the building, part of the is it the Centennial Building? Is that the why they're talking about? Or is it 66 Atkinson Street?
I'm not sure.
I have no
I don't
idea.
know what they're speaking to.
I mean, if they're talking about putting housing in it, I heard that there's a possibility on the building that's on Main Street, but I don't know. So I guess that's something for us to consider. I think Kathleen would know if they actually sold it, right? And they'd have to pay
Yeah.
off the liens if it was 66 Atkinson
Right.
Street.
The official sale has not gone through.
Okay.
There has been no official sale.
No official sale, okay. Well, that's worth knowing. And that's a little comforting, we can figure it out. Okay, anyone else in the public? Looks like there's no one else asking to speak. You don't see anyone, do you, Shannon? No?
I do not.
Okay. All right, then we move on to item number 1 on the agenda, which is finances. First of all, the year-to-date FY '20. Gentlemen, any comments on these items? Or is there
While you
some
guys
that stick
look,
out?
I could kind of.
Oh, sure,
do a
you want to
quick-
preface something? Yeah.
So, I'm still not done. I was on vacation last week, so I'm working to finalize these. So entries were made on expense sides, but not on revenue sides. So I still anticipate us coming in roughly 300,000 under budget. So just know that it was requested that they are here, but they're not finalized. So I still think that we're gonna come in where I thought we would at the end of the day.
So our next meeting in September is when we would see
final.
the finals.
Yep, and they'll be emailed to you before your meeting.
Okay, yeah, and you closed out the book, so there shouldn't be any more June 2020?
Well, I have entries to make.
That you gotta make,
And from the
right.
bank statements, and, the majority of that will be revenue. So,
Great.
And those will be a week before, we'll get them in advance of the meeting?
you will get them in advance of the meeting. I'm hoping to finish them this week is my goal. I'm really close, so
Okay.
Great.
we would email them out as soon as they're done.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, Jigs.
I've got a couple items I want to mention. I had asked Shannon for some detail, and just for the information of the board, on the legal expense, which is on page 3, you know, where we had budgeted a little over 20, and we came in at 42,000. And Shannon, correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks to me like on the first line, the $17,000 line, there were 3 law firms that received payments. One was the Masuko law firm for about $9,500. The Monahan law firm, which is about $7,600. And I believe the Monahan law firm represented us in the various personnel issues that we had in the, primarily in the police department this year. That was about $7,600. And then there was one charge from Ancuda right around the time that our manager left, and that was for like $675. So I think the Monahan charges are in a sense extraordinary, but that kind of brings that account. Now, the second line there shows 20,000 for other professional services, and $19,998 of that was Primer, Pipe.
Kramer, Piper, Eggleston, and Kramer.
That was
Okay.
the investigation.
And that was the investigation that was required at the time of Alicia Beam's
Nope.
departure. No?
That was prior to her departure,
Right,
Oh, prior to her departure.
right, during the investigation piece.
But it was an investigation at the police department.
correct.
Yeah. So that's the other 20,000. I think we had authorized 12.
My recollection.
Yeah, well, remember,
but-
there was no motion. The manager can spend up to $14,999, but we did not authorize the expenditure of $19,000. No, we did not. And that's not even including the remaining amounts for Monahan. So if you put them all together, it's well over 20 grand.
Right. Oh, yeah, this is
Yeah.
his fee, yeah.
So, no,
Uh,
that shouldn't have happened, but it did.
The other thing I would mention that I think we have to really be looking at is, again, on page 3, we know the story about the phone bill. You know, we spent, 220% of the budget because of the contract we have with the current carrier, which is going to end in December, I guess.
Correct.
December.
But the other one that concerns me is we have a contract for IT outside services, and that's the 21,000 that's budgeted. But that jumped up to by another 5,000 since our last meeting, up to 31,000. So
Right.
we're 10,000 over that, and my feeling is that why is we paying 10,000 more than the contract?
Budgeted, yeah.
So, our interim manager was looking at some of the fiber optics we needed in the village, and our budget was so far under, and so went ahead and did it to make the municipality more efficient and effective, and it was stuff we had to do anyway. And overall, our budget was way under for FY '20. So, within his spending ability, he did those,
This is our interim manager?
yes.
Okay.
So basically the $10,000.
The projects were started anyway, and we were contracted to do them. The projects were started prior to his term, and we were contracted to do the projects. It was just what we were going to do in what fiscal year. And because we were so far under this budget, we finished it in FY '20.
Okay. So it's extraordinary. We shouldn't see that
You
kind
will
of a
not see
variance.
that,
Right.
no,
Also, as I recall, we're almost at the end of our contract with Dominion Tech.
correct.
So that's a consideration of what we do next. I mean, we went to Dominion Tech for one particular person.
Right.
That person's no longer with Dominion
Oh,
Tech.
they're not, yeah,
So that would mean we could
We do
possibly
an
change and
RFP,
save
yes.
ourselves a few shekels
right.
with a new contract. But I don't know exactly what the date of that expiring contract is at this point, so. But that's worth looking at and projecting forward what we're gonna do next. Anything else, Jigs?
Nope,
Anyone else?
I have one item. I guess it kind of falls in this. I don't know when it was.
Wait, if you would, make sure the microphone is close enough to you
Yeah.
so that, because with the, especially with the mask on, so that it can pick it up.
The email, I think that came from Shannon, I'm looking for a date on this, a few days back, July 29th, about the impact of turnover on police FY20 personnel costs.
Yeah,
Can you shed some light on that for me,
sure.
just in a nutshell?
Sure, I don't have it in front of me. Can I borrow it?
Sure.
Thank you. So the directive from the board, prior to this new board, but was to fix the issues in the police department and within the village. And so to do that, there was some turnover. It cost approximately $55,000 just in salary and payouts when we have turnover like that. So within that $55,000, the chief was out on sick leave for approximately 3 months, and so we had to pay to have someone cover him, plus he was being paid his sick time, which is built up. Our dispatch was also out short-term, personal reasons, and so she was also paid while we were paying a dispatch contract or outside service. And then we had an officer who was also out for an extended period of time, which we covered with other officers, so overtime for shift coverage.
But being paid.
While being paid.
While
And
being
then
paid.
in addition to all of that, once an employee leaves, whatever they have in their vacation and comp bank, they get paid out in full in their last paycheck. So all of that together for the turnover for the police department for this year was roughly $55,000. And that does not include lawyers' fees or, you know, any of their benefits that they were paid during the time that they weren't working but still here, things of that nature.
That $55,000, did that, are you including with the contract with the sheriffs at this point? As overage or not? That's
I
it.
was not, I was
That's
just trying
independent,
to
yeah.
give you just that
Yeah, that's what I thought.
salary line, just the personnel line, so, out of like the full-time officer, OT, and the chief line, we came in significantly under budget anyway, but in addition, these are one-time costs that we
Yes, yeah.
wouldn't typically see.
Okay.
Deb, there's
Yeah.
one other thing I wanted to mention. On page,
1 sec, though, I want to make sure Wade's got his answer.
Okay.
Well, I guess my question is, so are we set up, I mean, I wasn't here for the budget that just started, but, so is that set up to cover them, the budget we're in now, moving for this current year?
So,
Or are we going to be looking at
well.
some bumps in the road
I would
again?
hope that we wouldn't have that much turnover. Since I've been here, and I haven't budgeted like this at other organizations that I've worked for, but we budget line by line. So, and, you know, it's frowned upon to put any buffers in any lines, but we should anticipate if we have turnover in a position where there's only one person, we should have a buffer, so if we do have turnover or we need to replace them, we have that in our budget. We do not right now. Right now, what we have is finance director, this is her salary, assuming this much of an increase or no increase, and that's it. So, for instance, if my position were to turn over, I'd cash out my vacation and comp, plus you'd have to hire an outside temporary service and then look for someone else. None of that is in the budget. It's strictly just 100% of my salary.
We basically budget without an anticipation of any
Right.
bumps in the road.
Yeah.
That everything goes the same to the following year, right? We don't budget for any of those. That would be coming out of our available,
The general
the
fund.
general
General
fund.
fund.
Yeah,
And the reason we do that is because we're collecting taxes from people.
Yeah.
So that, if there's a bump in the road, then we have to explain to them why we're over budget at the end of the year. And I think that's kind of the reason. We have to charge them for whatever we budget.
Well, the only thing that was pointed out to me was with the police dispatch. I mean, when that dispatcher's out for, what, several, like a month or better?
Two
3 months.
Yeah.
2 months,
So that's a position that has to be filled.
right.
You can't just not fill it. So that was absorbed by the sheriffs,
right.
Right.
and now we're spending money that wasn't budgeted.
Right, and exactly.
But you can say that for a lot of the PD positions, because not all of them, but at least the majority of them have to be filled one way or another,
Right,
somehow. But we
Yeah.
don't budget for that. I'm just trying to get a handle, but we don't
That's-
we don't put,
correct. If
Like
I
Jiggs
were,
is saying, we
if I were to
don't-
go out on medical leave for 3 or 6 months, there's nothing in this budget that would help you with that.
It's gonna be over.
If dispatch, which is a single person job, and so I do think, I've never budgeted like this, so I've always rounded up. I've never budgeted $2,198 for a line item in a budget. You know, we would always round up or, and add buffers in. And that would be a recommendation for the next budget cycle. I know it's not favorable, but things do happen.
And costs go up. There's also that.
Yeah.
Deb, I've got one other item. I just
You
more
said
to
page 6,
page 4.
page 4.
This is under the public safety building. The repairs and maintenance, we spent a little over the budget of 21,000. I want to be clear, though, that the projects, the major projects that we had envisioned being done in 2020 were largely not done. Okay? The big items in this budget,
Oh, you mean like the furnace and that sort of thing haven't been done yet?
no.
Right.
So the furnace work and the new oil spring or whatever, and then there's this other $5,000 item that Shannon is trying to find out about. I don't know what that was.
Yeah. The other thing is, so the article that you guys approved for the repairs and maintenance of this building
From last year,
would come out of this account number, and so this isn't over budget at all.
Right, because
some
it's-
of this is from the article.
The revenue
no,
line.
I'm
is
not
somewhere
worried
else.
about being over budget. I'm just saying that the projects
Right.
that we in
Right,
part budgeted for, and certainly the article was for,
Right.
didn't get started or didn't get done. Or they got started in that we did the generator work, but I guess the other question is that the article from 2020, it was at 20 or 30,000? Do you remember?
20,
This year, we did 20.
Last year was 30.
30?
Was 30. Is that still available, or
Absolutely.
It's
That's just, that doesn't have to be done in a fiscal year.
that's in an article?
Right.
Okay,
Correct.
good.
So it's available no matter what
so
year
that's-
we use
That's
it.
still available to us, so that's
Use.
good.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Is that it?
Yep.
Anybody else have any?
Oh, good.
I had a couple. One was on page 5. I couldn't figure out why we have a full-time firefighter line, and yet there was $1,360 spent in FY '20. That was odd.
Oh, it was probably just miscoded.
Okay, so
that-
something to check on? Okay.
That will just go in the call firefighter line.
Okay. And then on page 6, I looked at some of the, I guess maybe there's nothing for me to say about it except just pointing out, how high some of these lines are. And I know you already explained why, so I'm just looking at the page going, oh, yeah, that was a page I was concerned about. Oh, that's right, page 7, that was the last one I have, is down in parks. I'm shocked to find out how much we spent for materials and supplies, more than twice the amount budgeted. And our contract services are also over. So I'm not sure why that is. I don't know who handles our parks these days.
So that had to do with the removal of a tree, and the tree warden removed a tree prior to discussing it with management, and we agreed to go ahead and pay the invoice because the company was promised to be paid.
And it wound up in parks instead of in the town budget?
Well, it was materials and supplies for a tree.
I'm still confused.
I can
Doesn't
get
make
you the
sense.
invoices.
Right, because my understanding is all of the tree warden stuff goes under the town. It's in the highway department, not in the village and under our parks. So I also see a lot of work done in the cemeteries, which is a lot of places where we cover the park stuff. That's extremely high by another company that's being used for that purpose. They're extremely high. But that's why I wanted to know that doesn't make sense under material and supplies line. So maybe I can just get a detail,
Yeah.
just to explain it to
Yep.
me. That'd be great. Thank you. That's all I got. So then FY21 update.
So FY '21, just so you guys know, this was financials through yesterday. So not just 1/12 of the year, but through August 10th, which included 3 payrolls. And there's really nothing notable at this time.
It's awfully early, yeah. Does anyone have any questions on the FY21
I
budget?
have a couple.
Go ahead.
The first thing is it would appear to me that the overtime is running above budget in not only the police department, but also water and sewer. Now, because it's 3 pay periods, or maybe 4, that, I could be wrong about that.
It is. It's more than 2 pay periods.
Okay.
Okay.
But I think what I think would be helpful is for our board to make it clear to the managers, particularly the police chief, and Rob, and of course Brian's right here, that we really want them to manage to their budget this year very much, and overtime is usually the thing that hits us.
Yep, that's true.
So I think that's a message that we want to convey. The other one was a purchase that caught me by surprise. I didn't write down the amount, but it was basically Chuck, our interim, purchased a computer for you, Deb.
Right.
I believe she also purchased one for
For
Gaetano.
Gaetano.
And I know we didn't budget that. I certainly don't understand why you would need a
Deb, can I?
village to,
I would just like to
I'm
defense.
speaking, I think.
This was during COVID,
Wait a minute,
when
I'm
we weren't
speaking.
able to come in the building. That was the regional purpose of those computers, was simply to make sure that we could sign warrants, so checks could get cut and payroll could be done. At the time, we were not able to come into the building to physically sign documents. It's important to make sure that we can
So what
continue
did the
working here.
computer do?
Computer allowed us to sign the document without having to be here, electronically.
And you couldn't do that at your office computer?
I didn't have that software, no. And that was his reasoning. That's all I can say about it, is that I know that was the reason for that, was to make sure that there was a link between the municipality and me and Gaetano to make sure that we could sign off electronically on the documents, to make sure it got taken care of.
And for that, you need to buy a computer.
Well,
There
now
was
you-
no other way to do it.
Now you're on, Shannon.
You don't, first of all, I did not approve it. Second of all.
No, I'm not.
It's
no.
within the
No, no.
manager's spending ability. And third of all, we are putting in for reimbursement for some of our COVID expenses.
Which could include the computers as well,
It-
if they say yes.
Because all municipalities had to come up with, and many municipalities provided their boards the ability to work virtually, because we have to have payroll warrants signed on time. We cannot not have payroll.
Oh, no, I understand that. But I know that throughout the COVIDs, we were able to get paper copies of things from the office. And certainly the warrants can be emailed with a signature done. So I think to
Not
me,
everybody had that ability to print,
No.
scan,
to
sign.
get an email.
But
But how do you
an
sign
email,
it?
how do I sign it? I have to print
You
it,
print it, and then you sign it. Yeah.
and then what?
And then you drop it
Take
off
it back
in
to
the
the-
mail, or
Well, we were,
drop
when
it off
when
at
Wendy
the-
wasn't even letting anybody in the building,
you
just
can
saying,
scan it.
that was
Drop
going
it off
on.
at the front door.
And leave it there.
Well,
You can-
they-
What-
you'd have to
I mean, I
already-
couldn't even get
The point,
inside.
the point of the matter is, at the end of the day, we've supplied you with a computer, and we shouldn't have. The taxpayers shouldn't be paying for that. Now, if the federal government is going to reimburse us, I guess that puts a different slant on my concern. But again, I think that well, it's why the purchasing policy is on this agenda, quite frankly, is that I think there's been a number of discretionary moves by our acting town manager, village manager, that are highly concerning. So,
I would have preferred to do this when we had our last manager, frankly, considering the amount of money we blew there. But we're where we are now. And that's fine, that's why it's on the agenda. Under the current year, on page 6, can you tell me why there's a $70.07 charge under part-time clerk and dispatch wages? We do have a dispatch line.
I'm sorry, which line?
It's under the police department. It's PT clerk / dispatch wages. It's 10.07.
Page 6?
Again,
Yeah.
that's probably just miscoded.
A miscode? Okay.
Yeah, so, I haven't been through
Right.
this to make any adjusting entries
Okay.
yet.
All right, I just asked because it's an odd.
Yeah, no, I
Line
was
item.
on vacation through Friday, so did these yesterday.
All right, anyone else have anything on the current year so far? We're not far in. Okay.
No, but I appreciate getting a financial. That was, we usually go through like a 3-month period where you don't get anything.
Well, that happened. Hopefully, that's not going to be the case.
And
I don't
so-
think you've ever gone 3 months without them, but, okay.
Well, usually there's a period there between the end
Of
of the.
time. We
There's
didn't get
nothing
them.
that changes, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Well,
sometimes
anyway,
we want to keep track of it that much.
I'm
like
just saying,
Once a
When
month.
we get a manager and an executive assistant
Yeah.
and, we have a full-time
And typically-
staff, I will get them 2 at a time.
We have, when we go back to 2 meetings a month, we review those reports at the beginning of the month, the first meeting. So we don't
Right.
look at them the second time.
Right.
But once a month is,
No, I know,
Anyway,
we are
I'm pleased
completely
to-
buried.
I was pleased to get it.
thank you. Okay. Moving on to the next item, we're under the water, wastewater fee increases. What was this about? Was this about,
Well, there was
This-
a memo in your packet if you.
Oh. I'm trying to remember.
It's a
3%.
one line.
If you want.
Yeah, sure. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so discuss the increase. We had done a previous agreement, right? Is that correct?
Part of it has.
So,
Well, the
We
10%
have to.
was a
3%.
previous agreement, and,
yeah, it's buried in my,
but I'll make a motion,
And
Yeah.
we have Chrissy on too, just in case.
the what?
Chrissy
Oh.
Haskins.
Haskins?
On the sewer,
That's,
Yeah, she's on the.
right, so that's to talk about the Pine Street project, I think,
oh,
is it
are we
not?
talking about the Pine Street?
No, right now, we're just
No.
looking at the increase
The
we
rate
need to do
increase,
for the rates for the fall, right?
Right. That's what I thought we were talking.
Yeah, that's it. 3% increase, I believe
I'd
that was
make-
what we decided.
I'd make the
before.
recommendation that we approve a 3% increase in the fall for the wastewater treatment fees.
I need a second? Anyone wish a second to discuss it?
I'll second it.
Okay. Discussion. Anyone have anything to say?
Well, I would just say that we've obviously come through a huge period of expenditures for both water and sewer. And if you look at your balance sheets for this period, if you can find them, if I can find
Yeah,
mine.
dig them back out after, dig them through the paper.
if you look at the wastewater balance sheet, on the line due from and due to, okay, if it's due from, it's a minus. If it's due to, it's a plus.
Plus, yeah.
Pluses are good, minuses are bad. We have a minus in the wastewater of 662,000. It was actually, I think, a little over 700,000 at year end. So the trend is improving. But we really shouldn't be in a borrowed position, and I think the rate increases will help us bring back the financials to where they need to be.
Right.
Makes sense.
Anyway, so
Yep.
that's why I'm in favor of
Of the increase.
of doing this, yes.
Yes, Jan?
Yeah, so I would just recommend, whether new management or whether I'm here or not, to continue on the path for which the RCAP had provided for wastewater. We are working with them to do water as well, although we are getting in a better position with water with the increases, and we'll be in a good place. But to continue those and not miss a year, even if you start to cover your expenses, to not miss a year going forward of rate increases. It's really important that you guys maintain those.
That's the position we were in, correct? Previously, we had skipped.
We skipped
And we
years,
made up.
and
Right.
that's
Yeah.
why we're playing catch-up now.
Yep.
Yep. Great.
I was just curious why it previously was approved at 10%, but now
That's what, so
That's
two
water.
separate. The 10%'s for water and the 3%'s for wastewater.
Wastewater.
So they're in water and wastewater at revenue compared to expenses. They were in different positions.
Right.
So different courses of action. Wastewater had seen from the previous 2 years extensive increases. And so now we're just proposing a 3 to 5% increase each year going forward with wastewater. With water, they did not do that. They did not have the increases. So last year and this year, the recommendation is a 10% increase. And that actually, in order for us to get the bonds, we needed to already have the boards approve those. So the water for 10% last year and this year were already approved. And then going forward, it's going to be the same recommendation for water,
Of
3 to
like
5%, and both water and wastewater in the fall.
We need to get out of our debt position, so.
Guy
Yes.
Thomas.
Okay, Guy Tom?
So water went up 20% and will go into the 3 to 5% annually. Wastewater is at a 3 to 5% semi-annually.
Semi-annually.
So we just got a 20% water increase
No,
at once.
no,
No.
sorry.
10%, 10%, right?
It's spread out by the season, yes?
Yeah, we
But
only
it's in
did,
1 year.
no, we only did 10% in the fall and then another 10% the fall after that. We didn't do any spring increases, ever.
So in 18 months, it'll have gone up 23%, 23 to 25%.
And water, 20.
The water will go
20%.
up 20.
In 24 months, the water will have gone up 20.
Yeah.
These are increases being proposed for the fall. So it
So-
went up 10% and
Last
10%.
fall, 10% this fall,
Correct.
and 3 to 5%
20%.
the following year.
Right.
And now 3 to 5, we should expect every year.
Right.
And hopefully it'd be just once a year that we do.
Instead of twice
Right.
a year. That's the intention.
So
to
in
get-
6 years, it'll cost us 50% more for our water bill than 6 years ago.
Well, the hope is that once you get to a place where you get your
Debt?
debt covered, as Jigs was saying, right now, the wastewater is $700,000 in the hole with their balance sheet. So once they had significant increases. I don't remember exactly, but they were even more than the water increases in
was something
wastewater.
I
like
think they were
30
25%.
25 to 30%, yeah.
So-
Back-to-back.
What happened was, I don't know exactly what happened previously, but the revenues were not covering the expenses. And so they were running at a deficit every year.
With a 3 to 5% increase, how long will it take for us to get that to zero?
So 20?
Well, so the water fund is in a positive net position already at about 300,000.
Yeah.
And we came in significantly under for expenses and slightly over in revenue. We actually did a good job projecting revenue. And so with the 3 to 5% increases, we're hoping that we're already in a good position.
I'm trying to remember what the
So
report projected a certain number of years.
That was wastewater, so we're waiting
Yeah.
for the water. Wastewater was in a really bad position, and it's gonna be a couple more years.
Yeah.
5 to 7 more years before we get it all cleaned up.
Okay.
The projects that we did for the bonds,
That's exactly.
and we couldn't take in sludge for months and months because the digesters weren't finished. So that took us down too, as well, as far as our revenue is concerned. So.
But the big change was in debt service. We had to
Yeah.
issue debt for both, and fortunately, the water department had a cash reserve going into that. The wastewater did
Did
not.
not, yeah.
And so the debt service, I don't know, it like tripled. And
then we had a couple of years where
And so a lot of
rates
these increases it's not operating costs that are going up at that rate, it's trying to catch up with the
The
debt
debt,
service.
yeah.
So,
Gaetano.
Steph, I was going to say, I just want to make sure that the board member,
Yeah,
Stefan,
no,
did
we're
you have
good.
anything? Okay. Gaetano.
I just wanted to finish my 1 minute. So in this 5 to 7 year anticipated paying off your debt, at that point, are they going to go back down? No, we're looking at a 50% water increase for folks who remain living in the village here for the rest of our lives.
wastewater.
Both.
Not continue to go up once things stabilize, but the rates were not accurate to begin with.
I understand
and
that, but-
the village incurred a substantial amount of debt.
In reference to his question, and you almost finished the answer, once you get it paid off, then what? They're going to sustain at that rate
Well,
to cover your
it's
debt.
different to get, so once you're in a net positive cash position, you also have to look at your debt structure and whether or not you take on more debt. Because once you're cash positive and your rates are covering all of your debt services and your expenses every year, you could look at it then and look at your rates. However, it will depend on if you take on more debt services for the utilities.
That's correct. The key going forward, the bonds that we issued a couple of years ago now, basically are 20-year bonds. So, obviously, as the time goes on, the interest amount goes down a bit. But I think the key to future rates, other than cost of living, is how much capital expenditures we have to do in the future. And that will determine at what level, rates will have to change. That'll have a major bearing on it.
Yes, Jen?
So if
Hopefully.
you look at your debt structure and then only take on debt to maintain a certain expense line over the years, then you could have your rates remain level. When these bonds were taken on, it wasn't taken into consideration. Rates weren't adjusted. There was no one-time bond payments that were asked to be issued. So you can do things differently, do bond payments instead of rate increases. There's a bunch of stuff you can do. It didn't take place this time. So the payments, you will be paying more principal and less interest as the loans go on, but the loan payments are stabilized. So you won't see a change in that annually. That's how it's structured, is that it's the same amount over the 20 years, just different amounts are allocated to principal and
Right.
interest.
It's the same dollar figure.
Correct.
But the balance of what we're paying changes.
Yep.
Anything further on this item? We have a motion on the floor, on the table. Is there any further discussion on the motion? To move forward on the 3%? Yes, Mr. Mitchell, you have a minute? Go ahead.
This, water, does this also include Walpole? Are they being charged for this and also Westminster?
Walpole and I believe Westminster as well have contracts The flow rate going forward increases on a percentage basis, I believe, as well, over the period of the contract. And any improvements that we do, they pay for in their percentage as well. So they are receiving increases in kind, yes.
As much as we taxpayers are receiving?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome. Okay.
Yeah.
It's in their contract. Their flow percent, their increase goes up each year, and it's in their contract. Instead of, doesn't get passed along this way. Anything further? All right, hearing nothing, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? None, then the motion passes. And we have the 3%. Last thing on this, under here, under finances, is the purchasing policy. That item has come up many times in the last couple of years, and who would like to discuss that item? Those of you who have read the contract know that the manager's discretion is to spend up to $14,999 without authorization of the board. Now go. What would you like to do? It's the pleasure of the board.
I'd like to limit the ability of this current interim manager to make discretionary expenditures. I'm not sure just how to do it effectively. He's not here tonight, he's on vacation, but, you know, I think I'd almost be willing to, you know, reach a gentleman's agreement with him, you know, rather than have to do it policy-wise. You know, that's a major, it's an awful way to, you know, to deal with somebody that you're worried about what they're doing. And because, you know, you change it now and
It'll stay that way.
The
Yes,
next
it would.
manager.
Yep.
So, the issue is some of the decisions that he's made that have hit our budget that should not have been made, and how do we try to get the manager to stop doing that? So
Okay. Well,
that's really the question.
we only have so much control, and for retrospective, this item has come up, let's see, I've been working on the board since 2011. It's probably come up every year or maybe 18 months since then, where some board members, whether it's select board or trustees, want to reduce the spending policy, but we never get there.
Right, but I think this is kind of, you know, this to me, I know we've had ongoing dialogues of that kind. You know, is 15,000, for example, on major acquisitions, is that too much? You know, that type of discussion. But that's not what this is about.
No, I know.
What this is about is Chuck, stop doing those discretionary expenditures. And that's the, you know, so I'd almost like to ask you, Deb, as president, to, you know, to talk with him and see if you can express our concerns. Well, I mean, it's my concern. I don't know if anybody else has any concerns. But,
Right, I'd like to hear
you know,
discussion of the board to see
obviously,
where
I'd
we
like
want to
hear
go
from
with it.
the other members, but that's probably the better way to do it, rather than to try to make changes in the policy. Obviously, this is a policy for both the town and the village, I believe.
Right, and if we change it,
So,
it would
it
be
would be-
lopsided, but they attempted to last week, but that didn't go anywhere, so it didn't change.
So why don't we direct the president to speak with the with the manager, and then report back to us how that went?
You're not giving me a dollar figure or anything like that to work with, I mean.
Well, I think it's more the concern is,
Well,
the spending.
Right, but how to curtail that?
Well, I think that, you know, for example, as a start, that you don't make any expenditure that hasn't been specifically budgeted for.
Right, I think the regular day-to-day expenses are already.
They're already budgeted
Already
for.
taken care of, right.
And you know, that's a start. That's a big start. So
right? But of course, when a department head comes into you and says, we got that much money to spend in the line, I'd really like to, you see what I'm saying? All I'm simply saying is that if he believes in his management ability, and we are the management on a management form of government, that it's valid that they should spend that, then it's going to happen. I mean, I can have the discussion with him. I'll let you know what he says.
No, I think when in doubt, check with the board. If it's in the budget,
Yep.
fine. If it's not in the budget, if it's going over the budget, check with the board.
How do the rest of you feel?
I agree. I don't even like the when in doubt part, because that leaves it kind of open.
That's why we have a
You know what I'm
policy.
saying?
Yeah, I know what
I
you're
know what you're
saying.
saying.
Well, most of the discretionary items are not itemized as a budget item, correct?
No, they're just
I mean, so
budget
how-
They
lines
have to
with
put
money
it
in,
into
yeah.
it. They would go into a budget item.
Right, in his role right now, he's looking at a budget, and if the money's there, he may be spending at a point in the fiscal year where he says the money's there, but it's not necessarily what a department head had in mind. So I just think that it's going to be hard to,
That's not, within the municipality, the department heads, the manager has never spent out of a department head's budget and would never do that. A department head has never spent without consulting with finance first, within their spending limit, and making accommodations in their budget.
so
So
this
for
is coming out
instance,
of
if
his fund.
Brian needs a purchase for water, we figure out where to take it out of his budget. This is your policy and your judgment, and this will slow down the nature of things within the municipality if you do things like that. We haven't, since I've been here, and this is my third budget, we have never gone over budget. If we purchase something, we make sure we underspend somewhere else. I would also just like to say that you're talking about an interim manager who volunteered to do this, who, especially on the village side, gets paid absolutely almost nothing. And I think that during a pandemic, everyone would make decisions differently. And so I think to come to the board every time you want to spend $1,000 in the given situation is a little taxing. And I think we are this close to the end of a manager search, and we should just keep that in mind before we drive everybody out of the municipality.
It's fair.
Just to give you a heads up.
It's true that this is driven by two items. One, merit raises, and two, the computer purchases. Those two items are driving
That
this
we know of,
conversation.
yeah.
That we're aware of at this time.
Right.
Right.
But I do think that everyone, every department head, town and village, every manager, and myself included, is fiscally responsible. And all of your budgets have come in under budget for the last 3 budget cycles, and there's no different intention with this. So the level of micromanaging for every $1,000 that's spent, I just think you should really think about it, because everybody would make different decisions given circumstances and what they have. And at the moment, during a pandemic, he thought that it was best to get tools in their hands where they could virtually do this. We didn't know if the doors were going to be shut here for 3 months, 6 months. We might be looking at a second round. We also have money to recoup. I think that as boards, I would beg you to reevaluate the level of micromanaging when your department heads are doing what they are supposed to do.
With all due respects, when somebody takes the unilateral action of merit increases to the extent that the interim manager did after his first month on the job, that is gross dereliction of duty, okay? And whether it's pandemic or SARS or whatever, forget it. We're talking about behavior of an interim manager.
Well, that's
And
No, I understand
that's
that.
within
the
their budget.
concerns over
Well,
the
I realize
budget
that, but-
are the 2021 budget.
Did you see the
Okay.
annual impact of the merit
And-
increases, though? They're insignificant to the village.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I mean, let's
did.
face it, if you look at 2000,
No, I worked them
wait a minute.
out through the whole budget.
Who's talking here?
Well, you always talk, and you don't ever let anybody respond.
Well,
Okay, try to be civil, folks.
No, I
I
am.
res-
I'm just saying,
Okay.
if you want an
Let-
answer, or
yeah,
if
then
you
just
just
let-
want
let
to
Jake
talk.
finish.
was
and
the,
then-
how
Point
did
of order,
the,
let him finish, please.
how did
Yeah.
the, you mentioned budgets, was the wastewater budget on budget this year, 2020?
It was significantly under budget.
It was over budget. The wastewater budget was over budget.
Revenue and expenses?
Expense budget and the total budget was over.
I don't think so.
The projected deficit was greater
Than anticipated.
than, or the, you know, the.
I haven't finished the
right.
books. How can you say that? I've
Well, I
finished
haven't,
it
that's
10
true.
times.
I haven't, true. I'm saying on the expense side.
And I said what's left is revenue.
But we're talking,
And
we are
not only
only
that,
talking
you don't even
here.
have the
Wait.
bonds in there.
We are only talking
don't have
here.
a
Wait,
Ron?
Shannon, please, let him
Well, he-
finish.
but he
Let him
makes
run.
a
I know, but hey, you let him run out, and then you
We are-
can speak.
We are only talking here about the interim manager and getting from this point to the selection of a new manager, which hopefully will accelerate next week. So I think, like I said, I think the best strategy would be to have Deb have a conversation and not mess with the policies. The department heads, certainly in the enterprise funds, have always done a great job. And this is not a broad brush thing. This is a one-person concern. And so, anyway, that's that.
All right, so I want to, Jeff hasn't had anything to say about doing it that
So I
way.
still can't respond to
Oh,
anything
I'm sorry.
you said.
My apologies.
No,
Go
that's
for it.
okay. The impact to the fire budget was, for the entire year annually of the merit increases, was just over $1,000. The impact to the general budget was just over $2,200 annually. The impact to the water and wastewater is accounted for in their FY '21. Not to mention that there were assumed merit increases in the budget already, and we have eliminated multiple positions that were budgeted in those budgets. So there is absolutely no negative impact to the budget. In fact, we're still projected to come in under. And the amount of work, you're happy when he came in and cut the staff and reduced the budget significantly, and then all of the rest of us picked up the slack to make that work and to still run effectively and efficiently. There were people who haven't had a merit increase in 20 years. And the impact to this budget is insignificant. And you're asking people to work harder than they've ever worked under stressful situations. And I don't think that any of the calls that have been made are egregious or outrageous or fiscally unresponsible.
Could you tell me, because I know, we represent the village.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm not aware of anybody other than the executive assistant, which has been an unfilled position for some time.
It hasn't
That there's
been
been
unfilled
any-
for some time,
that
just
there's
since the
been-
pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
The question is, what people have been let go
Nobody's been
that
let
are
go.
under the
Water-
village budget?
Water and wastewater are cross-training for highway, so.
Oh, wait a minute.
No,
So
let
we've
me finish.
had no,
Let me finish. If you want to talk and ask a question, let me finish. They're cross-training so that they will reduce water and wastewater salaries, and they will be used for the highway in the winter to plow and to do snow removal. Instead of hiring a full-time people for the highway, and instead of running up your budget, so we are reducing water and wastewater budget.
would you give us those numbers? I'd love to see those numbers.
We will, as
What
soon
they
as
would
the
look like.
season's over.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, you guys, I'm just
I'd love to
running
see them.
numbers for you, and if you don't think that Chuck and I can do this, then you just need to let us go. Because we're here, we're working, and we have done nothing ever to prove to you that this isn't gonna work or we're not gonna come in on budget, but yet we are micromanaged to the nth
If
degree.
I may interrupt, the reality is there are 5 members on this board, and only one of them seems to feel that way specifically. Remember, one member of the body cannot direct the rest of the body to
And
do
I'm not
something.
trying to. I'm not
Okay.
trying to.
Okay, so then you have multiply covered,
I've
many
covered it.
meetings,
I've
the
covered it
same
completely.
item. Ask for the numbers, get the numbers, see how they're proving out. If the four of you want me to speak to Chuck about his additional spending going forward, I certainly will. If that's what you want.
Can I
You-
talk?
Yes, but I think Steph had started to speak and then,
Well, no, the only thing I want to make a comment on is I commend the manager and finance and the rest of the staff for taking the initiative, provided it all works out. But I'm skeptical with whether it be union agreements or hours that some people are going to work, then come back and do, whether it be snow plowing at 7 o'clock at night or 7 o'clock in the morning or whatever. Maybe that's the perfect scenario if it works, but I'm going to reserve further opinion.
thank you. Wade,
To get back to the question at hand, I would say yes. I think that there should be a discussion between the village president and the interim manager to rein in some of these questions that we're talking about. I think it is appropriate to do that. And part of me is because I kind of look at it just the opposite of what you do with some things, with all due respect. My thought is because, and we use Chuck for example, but anybody that's an interim manager in this case, that to me, that's all the more reason why maybe you should be more communicative in asking and checking and covering all your bases when it comes to this particular topic. So I kind of look at, to me, that's like, that's the way I would at least do it. So yeah, I don't think it's out of question to have our president, relay our thoughts and hopefully get a bit of control on it between now and when his term's up.
Jeff, again, I know that there's someone in the audience who's got
Okay.
their arm up and it's getting a cramp, but I just want to make sure you have a chance to speak.
Well, I agree that I don't think there's harm in speaking with the interim. I think that we're asking a lot of all of our employees during a pandemic when we have very little resources and it's extremely challenging. I wouldn't want to be in their position. So I'm sympathetic to that. I think that there has been way too much change that makes it even more stressful for everyone. So I commend the staff and feel that there have been some missteps. We know what they are, and I think the people that have made them know what they are, but that will change.
Gaetano.
Madam President,
Excuse me, Mr. Mitchell, someone else is speaking first. I'll ask you after. Thank you.
So am I correct in my belief that the trustees voted to not pay the manager any funds?
You're incorrect. We did increase it, just not by the same amount that you did.
Okay, so are you not saving money by by reducing that line item? During this time that it appears we're concerned about a laptop and totaling Shannon's merit raises roughly $4,000, correct?
We're talking about a number of items. We know that the number of reductions have been done, and we will see some impact, although staff has not been reduced.
I'm
on the
talking
village side.
about the manager line item. Is that going to be a significant reduction in
It
that
will be,
line? And then
yeah.
I would like to compare it to the amount of time you're talking about the laptop and the merit raises.
Yeah, so the three, if Chuck is only interim for 3 months, July, August, and September, and we have someone start on October 1st, he will have covered just in the manager's salary, not including benefits, and not to speak of the executive assistant or the cross-training, just the 3-month salary of the manager will cover all of those expenses and way more.
Way more.
Way more.
Correct.
If he's only interim for 3 months.
That's my question.
Okay, well, she covered it, and we're not unaware of that. We simply are saying the items that's concerned by some board members, that items that were expended are disconcerting.
I was pointing out the fact that his role in the reduction in cost to receive that role
Thank you, thank you.
Madam
Mr.
President?
Yes, Mr. Mitchell?
I'd like to weigh in on a little indignant this cannon is being treated. Let's look at this historically. It was Stern given carte blanche. Almost $15,000 at each pop, so that means you can go out one day, spend $14,999 and go out the next day. Now, Willis Stern also reaped to them $150,000 in overexpenses in money in public library. So let's lay the blame where the blame goes. Mr. McCullough, your golden haired boy is the one that got all this. The $15,000 in a pop. You've said nothing all these years, and now you take it out on our finance director. I'm sorry, James, you are on the line.
Thank you, Mr. Mitchell, for your input. If the board is satisfied that I will have a conversation with, the interim manager and check back with you folks, I'll send you an email or something like that. I could do that before our next meeting. Okay? Is that all right?
Great.
Everyone's good with that? Okay. All right, the last item under finances is just discussion of a policy on selling of village equipment. That's been up and down. We found out the sport track that didn't get sold was sitting in a pit. It was supposed to be done a couple of years ago. Further along, we will come up with we'll be talking about the truck sale. So is the board in favor of developing a policy for sale of equipment? And the whole point is to see where we believe a limit should be established so that things don't just get given away, which apparently has happened in past years, not in this current administration. But what's the board's thought on that?
Well, I think, if I may, I think a policy is in order, because we should have some. We've had questions whether it be the vehicles or whether it be a piece of property. A perfect example for a vehicle is the one that sat up there for how many years, and we already thought it was sold. Getting into the real estate aspect of it, we had real estate on Green Street that we could have actually sold for more at the offer we had, and it was, I believe, refused by somebody. If it had, then it went for at the actual sale after that. So, whether it, a lot of things, I'm no stranger to it. You see a lot of these, whether it be a bid transaction or whatever, there's some discretionary conversation in there, or terminology as such, pending approval of the board, right to reject any and all bids, et cetera. I think we ought to have something because, we ought to have something.
Has there ever been one?
Not that I'm aware of.
I mean, prior to now?
There had been
Was there?
many years ago. I don't know if it was a policy, but it was an understanding or a consensus.
Nothing in writing that you're aware of?
Not that
Except
I'm
perhaps
aware
in
of,
the
no.
meeting minutes?
No, other than if you termed it when you put your, whatever you were selling out to bid, whether it been the town select board or the town of village trustees, there's the right to reject any and all bids. Pretty simple. Short terminology, it's pretty self-explanatory. That way it comes back before the board as to what it is. Whether it be the Auctions International site that's used or any other auction site, generally, I'd say probably 3/4 of them, if they're from a municipality, have that criteria. Whether you go to municipal bids, take a look and see what the criteria is at municipal bids. You can bid on it, be the successful bidder, but it's pending a board meeting in the following week or whatever,
So right now, the village takes these as they come about. We do them on a case-by-case basis.
Right,
So, is that correct?
that's correct, yes, we don't have any.
So, yeah, I
specific
think a
concerns.
policy is in order, a simple policy that kind of outlines how to go about future sales.
Yeah.
And that way the board doesn't become unhappy with any particular sale, because we did that. Jigs, what do you think?
I have no problem.
Jeff?
Yeah, I
Okay.
mean,
It's great. Yeah.
some of the other reasoning for that is because I've been here for a while. I've been here while we've had management. we had stuff for sale that we weren't even aware of. It was, I guess, at the time, it was advertised in-house, then it was advertised because nobody wanted it in-house, went outside, didn't sell, then somebody comes waltzing in here on a weekday morning saying, hey, I know you had the stuff for sale, but it didn't sell, I'm gonna offer you this for it, and yeah, okay, get rid of it. And I'll stop short of an example.
I know that I've got at least a couple of examples, because we've talked about this possibly in the back,
Yeah.
a couple of years ago. We never did anything. And bring something to the board for our next meeting, so we can go over something. If you guys have any additional thoughts, or you develop something, bring it
No.
in too. We'll work something together and develop a policy that we can all agree on.
You know, the one that took my cake that year was with the real estate that we had. And we ended up actually not having, or receiving as much as what we should have or could have the first time. And if it was left up to the board to make the yay or nay as to the final decision, you have nobody to blame but ourselves.
Is that good with the board? Okay, well,
reasonable.
That's fine.
next meeting, we'll have it in September. Moving on to the water department finally, Brian. You can come up here and give us a general update. Thank you.
First of all, we thank him for his patience.
Yes.
He's been here
Yeah,
diligently
really,
each
thanks.
time.
What time is it? Holy cow. Over an hour.
No, well, everything's running well. The land's running good. We were picked one of 800 water systems in the country. I wish I could be so lucky with the lottery to do special EPA testing. So I had to do 2 tests a month for 4 months, and halfway through it. This test I do next week will put us halfway through. And I called the lab to find results, and they said it'll be, EPA's slow. It'll be a few months before you see any results from the testing.
You'll have gotten all of your testings done by then, pretty much, yeah?
Yes, yeah. And what they're testing for, I believe it's a byproduct of an algae bloom. It's called cryotoxins.
Wow.
So, I don't know if they're worried about, I've never seen an algae bloom at the plant, so. Now, my state testing is pretty much wrapped up for the year. We just have one more, which is the PFAS, like we did last year. And if this one comes back non-detected like last year's, then we won't have to do it for 3 years.
Oh.
And that's a $600 test. We did our lead and copper samples, where we send out 20 samples to various residents. They get up in the morning, the first draw, they take the sample, and they came incredibly low. All the testing was very low on lead and copper. We did our tank cleaning. You probably saw that in the budget line, and all the tanks were in fairly good, really good shape, except for Grizzle Drive starting to show some wear and tear. There's a crack on the overflow. I got to review the tape a little better. And pond level's holding good. We normally, our overflow's 23, and I just checked it before I came, and it was at 1995. So the pond level's holding good even with the drought. Then our flows are running, quite a bit higher, but I think it's because it's been so dry.
Great. Anyone else, any questions?
I have a couple.
Ryan? Sure, go ahead. Who said that?
I did, but go ahead.
No, you
Okay.
did. I don't have any questions.
The tank cleaning, I was just curious, so that I saw, was looking at it, that's for all the they did all the tanks?
All 4 tanks.
There's 4, right?
Yep. And the intake structure at the pond. Diver went down, we activated, because I don't dare shut it off. We never really have to, but I'm afraid if I shut it off, it won't open, and then we're stuck. So we activated it when the diver was down there, and it worked fine. And they checked the screens, and they were fine.
So when they come in and do all 4 tanks at one time, how many days is that?
Oh, it's a week,
It's a week.
yeah.
And how often was that?
Every 5 years.
Every 5 years?
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. The other question I had, do we have money in our maintenance budget for hydrants to paint them? And when was the last time they were?
We have a,
Do we have any, it must have been umpteen years ago that they were painted.
yeah,
They're in drastic need of some touch-ups.
Yep. Thing is, Bernie and I have done a couple, they just don't last unless you sandblast them, and We don't. We
Yeah,
don't
I
set
mean,
up
there's no
for
doubt it takes a little elbow grease to,
that. Yeah.
but I happened to be in a couple other communities recently where they were doing them, and now that we're getting our streets cleaned, which looks great,
Yep.
the nice hydrants they just dress it up,
Yep.
you know,
Yeah.
which, you know, I mean, we all know that, but.
In the other communities, do they do them themselves, or do they outsource?
I think they just do it themselves, you know, peck away at it as best they
Yeah,
can.
well, we have done some. Like I said, we did the one, if you look between Golden Cross and the Big Red Barn, we did that 5 years ago, and you look at it now, it's like we never touched it. Because we actually replaced the whole barrel on that one.
Anyone else have any questions for Brian? No, no, it looks like we would, thank you, Brian.
Yep.
Move on to the Pine Street project next. And is that you or Chrissy?
That was probably Chrissy.
Hey, Chrissy. Hi.
Hello.
Oh,
Good evening. So Pine Street?
Yes, so on Pine Street, well, actually, first of all, I just wanted to touch base back on your hydrant maintenance question. Just for some information, some municipalities use volunteer high school students to paint their hydrants. So, might be something to look into.
Looks COVID safe. I think that might be a good idea.
community service. Community service. You know, they all have community service.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Mhm. Okay, go ahead.
So you have, you should have two documents in front of you. One is a memo that has a table with a whole bunch of numbers on it, and then the other one is a letter for a recommendation to award. So I'll just quickly go through the recommendation to award. We check, so we receive bids and we go through all the numbers, we make sure all the math works out, we make sure all the bids were filled out properly. And so after doing all of that review, Knott's Excavating was identified as the low bidder with a bid of $421,970.20. Now that is for the base bid plus alternates 1 and 2. And just a quick reminder on that, the base bid is Pine Street from George Street up to Front Street. And the alternate 1 is George Street, or sorry, alternate 1 was Williams Terrace, from Pine Street to Forest Street, and alternate 2 is George Street from Atkinson to Pine. And so we did the bid evaluations based on all of it added together. And so the bid from Knott's was responsive. We requested references, and all the references were good. We contacted his bonding agent, who confirmed that they will be providing payment and performance bonds. And so based on all of that, we would recommend award to Knott's Excavating. So then the piece to figure out is, what are you going to award? So the memo that you have summarizes all of the different options you have. So our estimate is the first column there. That was our estimate that we came to the board with in May. And then the next column over is just the base bid. So that would just be Pine Street. The next column over would be Pine Street plus doing the Williams Terrace piece. The fourth column over is Pine Street plus just George Street. And then the last column is all of it. So the paragraph down below notes that we have about, we're estimating, so Mill Street is done now, and so we have final numbers on that. Burton Lake is still in progress, but the final paving is done, and so we're working through quantities right now. We're estimating you have about $560,000 remaining in your bond authority and your loan. So you have sufficient funds to cover the Pine Street, George Street, and Williams Terrace work, all of it, which total project cost, construction plus contingency, plus all of the engineering, and some legal and administrative, estimate number, it was about 537,000. So you have more than enough to cover that. So we would recommend doing all of it, and that would that's gonna pretty much use up all of your funds. Just a reminder, this is a 40% grant, so 40% of that does not have to be paid back by the village. So it's a good idea to use that funding. That's some really good funding that you have right now. Any questions?
Anyone? Yes, Jeff? I think.
Go ahead.
Jeff has something.
I was just curious, with the design engineering, construction engineering, and legal administrative, if the alternates are not completed, that would be a cost that would be incurred the next time around, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So if you didn't construct the 2 alternates now, they're already designed, so you would have that basically on the shelf ready to go. The construction engineering, and actually the construction cost for those alternates would likely be more if you did them as separate projects.
Right.
Just because of the mobilization costs. There's some other kind of overhead costs involved in all of that, that they would cost more as separate projects.
Understood.
course.
Thank you.
Jakes, you had something?
Just the question, not engineering, I believe, has done other projects here in the village.
They did Mill Street.
Huh?
They did Mill
Mill
Street.
Street?
Did they do Mill Street? Okay, I think they did Hadley Street. I'm not sure, but
Yep,
I
yeah,
think
Hadley.
they did.
They did
Yep,
all-
And so I'm interested, in your opinion, Brian, as to how they've performed.
Yeah, they did Hadley, Chase, and Oak. They did all 3 of those. And I know one of the previous board members had a little issue, but, I mean, Ray was dealing with that more than I was, so. But I didn't hear of any problems. And Mill Street, you know, there are a few problems here and there, but you
Yeah,
get into
yeah.
a scope like that, you're gonna find
Right.
things. And they worked around the problems well.
Okay. Well, I'll make a motion.
Oh, right, because we still have to talk about choice. Yeah, we can discuss once. You go ahead and make a motion.
I'd make the motion to do all the work. And I'm not sure whether we're approving the 421 for this round. I guess, Christie, you'd have to,
Are we approving
536.
the entire amount of
Are we-
536,970?
The way I-
So you'd be approving the award of the 421,970.
Okay.
Because the other work has already been approved.
Okay.
okay. So I'd make the move then to go ahead with with all 3 phases of this project and appropriate a sum of $429,970.
You meant 421,970?
421, that's exactly what I meant.
421,970
20
20
cents.
cents. I'll
I
second
didn't
that.
put any cents on it.
Okay, no, it makes no sense at all? Is that what
Makes
you're
no
saying?
sense.
Yeah.
What's it?
Okay, Stefan
Oh, yeah,
seconded.
okay.
Yeah, see, there's the dollar.
And 20 cents.
And 20 cents. Don't forget that 20 cents.
We could round up to
I was going to say, have a
971.
contingency fee in there. For
Okay, so
fun.
we have a second now discussion. Wade, you had something?
Yeah, I was just curious, probably Brian, or either one of them can answer. So, going up, it's only up to Forest Street on Williams Terrace? That's not very far
Yeah,
up, right?
what
Just
it-
a short
what it is,
piece?
At the edge of Forest and Williams, we have a bad valve. If we ever try to turn it, it
Yeah.
leaks, and then we play with it forever to get it to stop.
Right. So you gotta go up far enough to get that valve in.
Yeah.
Anyone
So
else?
that's a short
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes.
stint right
Yep.
there, yeah.
Yep. And those valves aren't that old, but it leaks.
My apology, Wade. I thought you were done.
No, so I was just curious.
Anyone else on the board?
Nope. we're
Nope.
good.
We good?
Self-explanatory.
Okay. Nope, just checking. There's no hands. All right. Okay, so with the motion in mind, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. You have the motion. Thanks, Chrissy.
Thank you. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you all very much.
Great, you're welcome.
Thanks for coming in on your
Thank you.
vacation.
Hang around, all right. Oh, yeah, sure. Well, I thought you wanted to ask it while we were making the motion. but- Okay, so, please do.
Where do the funds come from?
Where are the funds coming from to pay for this?
So this is already, Chrissy left. So this is already in the bonds that we
Okay.
took out. This
There are
is just
remaining funds,
The
yeah.
remaining funds. So the bond payment that we're paying will not change whatsoever.
Right.
This is already included in it. And in fact, if we didn't do the work, which needs to be done, the bond payments wouldn't change until the back end of the loan.
Okay, and then how much money is left in this bond and how much more is critical infrastructure that needs to be addressed?
You said-
Any idea?
It says 560 on there, is that right?
Only like
Yeah, you're gonna have
24,000.
24,
Would be left.
How much?
23,000?
Would be left,
And that's it?
yeah,
We started with 8.1 million.
right. Now we're down to like 560, and when we eat that up with this project, we'll have about $24,000 left.
This is the balance that we had left over that we hadn't decided what we were gonna do for going to a full project or
Yeah.
not. So,
Okay,
and
anything?
with the 40%,
Go ahead.
yeah.
Yes, the 40% of forgiveness, I love
That's
that.
the selling point.
Yep. All right, moving on, we're on to the fire department. Item number 3, update on the truck sale. Oh, Sean's here. Yeah, if you want to, go ahead and use that microphone.
So I think I sent you all an email saying that the truck sold. The highest offer we got was $3,000. I talked with Chuck. We accepted that, and the guy picked up the truck on Saturday.
So it's gone. So we got that. Anyone?
It's gone already?
It's gone already.
I wanted to get my picture taken with it one last time.
John, do the proceeds go to the town? I mean, the town buys the fire equipment, don't they?
That was actually
Not
owned
that
by
one,
the village.
We own that
Oh,
one.
we
That
own
was-
this one, okay.
That was the last one the village bought.
Okay, so,
believe.
yeah, I wasn't clear where the $3,000 is supposed to go
Right.
because of what happened with the Rockingham Volunteer Fire Department and money going into that account. So
This
when we
is-
sell a piece of equipment, does it have to go into that account?
This is totally separate. We can do that. This is totally separate. I think I put out in an email that what I'd like to do is take that money and buy some hose with it. So that's up to you guys.
Okay. Yeah. Did you have something? Anything? I mean, I think
Well, we
we're
had
all
an ar-
slightly disappointed that it only sold for $3,000 when you put it out there for $8,000, which is really the reason why we're going to be developing a policy of sale.
Yep.
Because that was not what we were anticipating, especially when we sell a 2014 for over $5,000.
Yeah, this was an 89
Yeah,
that was 31 years old.
I understand.
Okay.
I do.
But in a sense, we kind of sold it for more than that because you stripped the truck with
We
a
did.
couple things.
We actually took 3 major pieces of equipment off of it. We took Jaffrey valve. For those of you that don't know, that's an inlet valve. Deb, you should know what that is.
I do. I was going to say, we should talk about buying hose.
And that's worth roughly about $1,800. We saved the siren off of it, which is a federal queue. For most of you that don't know, that's worth roughly about $2,000, even used. Sometimes they're a little bit less used, but they're relatively expensive. And the deck gun, which is anywhere between $1,500 and $2,200, depending on how fancy you want to get with that. So
So where are them now?
the deck gun, the Jeffrey valve we put on the old engine and put the newer one on the new truck. The deck gun we put on the new truck, and the siren we put on the new truck.
Sean, the part that the town buys, the equipment that the town buys
Yeah,
for the 3 departments,
yes.
it doesn't include hoses.
That's actually one of the things that is up for discussion this year. I think it should be. It hasn't really been finalized, but the things that I added into the townwide purchasing, or I'd like to see added in, are hose,
Year?
gear, and
SCBA?
SCBA was already in there.
Okay.
Nobody's been following the policy. But hose, gear, and I don't remember the other one right off. The way that the agreement that was signed in '96 was written was that major equipment purchases, SCBA's, and anything else deemed necessary. So you just have to, I'm sure that
That's
everything is
interpretive,
deemed
right.
necessary, but I think it should be a list that's spelled out.
Yeah.
And what I had proposed this year was $5,000 out of our equipment budget go into that line item to be spent on gear, and then moving forward, my line item for that would be reduced by $5,000 every year. 'Cause I'd like to see us buy 2 sets of gear every year, unless we get to a point where we don't need to buy anymore. But that will keep us from having to rely on grants. We've been very lucky with grants, but the next set of fire act grants is set to expire in 2 years, and our gear is good until I think 2027. So unless there's more grants that come available, we would have been looking at replacing 20 full sets of turnout gear. But I think it's a lot better to do a couple sets a year. Maybe we'll get down to 1 set, but I think that's a better way to go.
Obviously, I want you, I want you to have reliable hoses.
Yeah.
But can we put this into the general fund, and then you have an equipment line item on your budget, don't you?
We do.
And kind of see how you go with that line item, and then talk about it later in the year.
Maybe let us know if if it's more than the amount you actually have to spend already.
It's up to you guys. I would prefer to buy the hose now, but that's up to you.
Can you do that with your existing budget?
I can.
That's what I'm suggesting is and if this town committee, I don't know when they meet, but
The fire committee.
Refresh my memory, maybe Gaetan remembers the article that was for 12,500 just passed. What was that?
That was for the Rockingham Fire Department
That's for
itself.
the Rockingham
Okay.
specifically?
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, careful, don't dip into that. Make
Yeah,
somebody angry.
Beyond this board's authority to do that.
That's right.
So in your current equipment line item now,
Yes.
is there any money? I know did hose make up part of that?
I will tell you right now, I will not buy hose out of my current budget because I believe it should come unless this I looked at as a separate opportunity to get a head-on hose. But I will not buy any hose out of my budget because I believe that's something the town should eventually buy. But we are short on hose right now. That's why I was looking to spend this $3,000 on hose.
So in your current line item, there's part of that makeup wasn't for a certain
No.
amount of hose.
Nope.
So where is that 3,000 supposed to go, Shannon? Just general budget?
Well, it would go into either miscellaneous income, or if there's sale of equipment line, I can go look. So
Okay,
it would-
so
it would
that's
hit
the-
this budget as a positive.
Okay.
So if you don't spend it, it would go into the general fund. Gaetano.
Yes.
Yes, so if you took roughly $4,500 worth of equipment off of old engine 2, the 89 truck that was sold, and sold it for $3,000, you listed it at $8,000, which is more than that truck's worth, and I don't think anyone ever expected it, and you got $3,000, took $4,500 off of it. It seems yourself and Stefan are displeased with the process and the amount. Could you explain that to me, or?
Well, let me ask you this. Let me ask the chief. Is that not the truck that we put the brand-new tires and rims on? Or one of them?
How long ago?
Within the
I-
last 2 years?
No.
It's not.
I can look into that, but that is not actually. I just would like an answer to that question. I'm
Right.
not talking about the tires that were on it.
Yeah.
Actually, I believe the truck that you put new tires and rims on is the bucket truck that sold. Because I know that did have brand new tires and rims on it.
Well, I thought, no, Well, I thought somebody had told me, at least my recollection was that we put new rims and tires on that truck.
Oh, we did on a they did like a partial refurb of the cab
Yeah.
about 10 years ago.
Oh, I thought it was more.
No, I can look into that. It was back when Bill Weston was here, so it's at least,
But,
least 6 or 7.
in reference to my comments, Mr. Gaetano, it's not that I'm displeased. I think we could have realized a better return or a more of a maximum return if we had exercised another route.
Okay, you want to answer your question, right? My feeling is that first of all, I was not aware until tonight that it was $4,500 in equipment removed from the truck, so I didn't know that. Number two is that in selling something, if it didn't receive even half of the amount of money it was listed for, I would simply hold it, no value lost, put it back out again to bid and see if you received a higher bid. It's possible. And it depends on where it was done. It wasn't listed on Auctions International. It wasn't listed on a couple of other places that it might have garnered more money. So that's why we need a policy. It's not because he doesn't know what he's doing. It's not what it's about. It's about, and then there was equipment taken off that has value. But that value, it's not cash in hand. It's not $5,000 or $6,000 spent on hose or something like that. It's a matter of having a policy where we consistently sell things in the same place. We don't give it away.
No, I get that part.
You know?
It's separate from my question, which
That's
I don't,
my reasoning for being displeased with $3,000.
I don't think you would have got more than 3,000, but on the other hand, Stefan would ask all the time, where are we at with the sale? So I'm not sure you guys wanted to wait and list it somewhere else. It was listed all over the place, and it's a collector's
Point
item.
of order here, hold on a second.
Let's not argue.
You're not gonna bully me on this board and say Stefan would ask about the sale, because did I ask you anything about the sale?
Well, you would ask me.
No, I did not.
Yeah.
No, I did not. No, I did not.
Gentlemen, agree to disagree.
Well, no, I did not, so that's the point. Gonna make a comment, I'm gonna rebut it. If I asked about the sale, I'd come right out and say, no, I did not.
You did.
No, I did not.
You asked me several times.
Gentlemen,
Hold
point of order.
on a second. Point
Correct.
of order here.
We'd like to get along with
We'd
it.
like to move on to the next item on the
I
agenda.
know you would, Jigs.
I asked you about specifically the rescue, not the engine. And you said that we were selling the rescue
Okay.
to a party in Pennsylvania. What's gone on with that since you brought it up?
That's not my place. I don't work for the village.
No, but you are the select board member of the chair. It's a town piece of equipment. I mean, you willing to offer? Because that's what I asked you about.
That's not what you asked me about.
Yes, it
We're
is.
talking about engine two.
Take control of it.
Okay, gentlemen, I think
No,
we're
That's
done.
what I asked you about.
I'd like to move on to the next item. That is why we will have a policy for sales so that we will always consistently do the same thing. Go the same place and bring it to the board so we can have the right of first refusal, whatever we need to do. Thank you.
So what about the hose?
So what is the board's pleasure? Do you want to say, take the $3,000 and buy hoses with them since they do need them?
I think that the point of the matter is that when you sell a piece of equipment, the revenue comes into miscellaneous revenue, okay? So
General
it's
fund,
going to come
yeah.
into revenue.
Right.
If you buy hose, it's going to be expense to his equipment budget.
It has
So
to be
it's-
expended somewhere, right?
It's kind of academic. I think if you need the hoses, get the hoses. But I think but it's not like you're spending that money. You're spending it out of a budget line. So you follow me? So it's not like we're going to take that 3,000 of revenue and put it some different place.
However, you understand what he is trying to say. If it comes out of the town agreed account for paying for large apparatus, hoses, gear.
Then we wouldn't have to spend the
Right,
money.
exactly. Then he wouldn't be expending it out of that budget line. It would be expended from that account,
Correct.
But if
which
you
has its
can't
own budget
wait-
line.
If you can't wait until the town revises their policy,
Mm-hmm.
then, and he needs the hoses, buy the hoses.
But that would mean, at this point, it's going to come out of your
It's
budget
going to come out of that
line.
expense line.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay?
Right.
But that's the,
So it looks like that's what, I think we're good with that. I don't hear anyone saying, no, don't do that.
So, is this money going into the general fund, or is
Yeah.
it going in,
yeah,
is it going
goes
into the?
general
Alright,
fund.
Alright,
No,
Yep.
I'm sorry, no, it goes into a revenue line on this budget year.
Right, yes.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
But
So
that,
your expenses can offset it.
so
Okay.
if I spent $3,000, if I spent $2,000 in hose, is that gonna come out of that, or is it gonna come out of my budget? Will that line go into that budget?
Well, we can add a new line, so I hate to even bring this up. Remember card number 2?
Yes.
We can do exactly the same thing. We can create another line for hose purchased
Hoses.
with revenues from
Sale
sale of
of-
truck.
Okay.
Well,
And then he would use
yeah,
that
but you
by
can't,
2,000 instead.
well, anyway,
You don't agree with
revenue
that?
is revenue, expense is
Right,
expense.
Uh-huh.
that's what we said.
Yeah, so,
They will be separated. Any further discussion on the sale to hose question? I don't hear anything.
let's go to the next item.
We're going on. All right. Now we move to cleanup directive. I guess you're also speaking on that.
Building usage?
Building usage, my mistake, building usage. That's the next item. And that's you.
Yes, so I don't know how many, I think an email was sent out that there is somebody interested in using the 3rd floor for yoga classes. So I have talked with, it's Janet Croft from Saxons River. I showed her the space a few weeks ago. She's very interested in it. I think with this, maybe with this current spike, she hasn't gotten back to me with the current spike and the COVID stuff. She hasn't gotten back to me with a start date. But one of the things that came up was a fee for using the building. So one of the things that she offered to do was to offer free classes to the firefighters. I don't really see myself doing yoga. Maybe I should try it. But there should be moving forward a fee for using that if you wish, unless you just want to call it a public space. I do know that in years past, the Snowmobile Club had used it for their meetings. So,
I didn't know that.
But, so you got somebody who wants to run a yoga class business in the training room?
yes. Yeah, it's actually, Jiggs' wife is part of this class, and they were, I think, out in VA.
Out in
And-
VA, yes.
And VA is not opening the campus up this year, is that
Oh,
correct?
right, that's right.
Correct.
So they were looking for an alternate spot. I think that building doesn't get enough use. So I've been talking with board members over the years about trying to, we're currently working to get the elevator back in service, either, through grant or other options. But this was the first step in trying to use that as a more public space.
So when were you anticipating to do that?
As far as
The classes?
the classes, I'm waiting to hear from her.
Okay.
So,
I have a concern, and my concern would be that if these classes open to the public?
you're talking about, I'm sure you're gonna go down the ADA.
Yeah, because we've
actually,
already
so-
had the ADA
So
question here.
from what
so-
I understand, that this is a private group, so it doesn't meet that. It's not open to the public.
Mhm.
So,
It's
I,
by
yeah,
signed
I
up.
have
Yeah.
I have thought about that.
Okay.
What does the board
But
think
they
of
pay
it?
a fee.
Yeah.
Do
Whether-
they pay a fee to this woman to run the class?
I would assume so, but I
Yeah.
don't, I think I don't know a whole lot about it. I really don't.
Yeah. So there may be a fee for her.
There's a per class fee.
Is it per class fee?
A person
Oh.
that takes a class would pay
Pay the
a
fee.
small fee.
Yeah.
From a financial perspective, I would like to come up with a fee structure if we want to rent that space or let other people use the space, and come up with a fee structure, so it's the same for everybody, but I do think that we should charge a fee.
Well, yeah.
And how, as far as liability, if somebody gets hurt going up or down stairs or whatever?
Our
Or while they're
insurance
there?
will cover it. We're covered.
No.
Cover private
No, you
citizens?
don't- You want to transfer that to them for, make sure they have certificate of insurance and
Oh, waiver.
proper waivers and hold harmless stuff. We don't want to, we shouldn't put the village residents on the hook for any liability for that.
Okay.
So, yeah, so
What does that
there's
consider?
two,
I mean, you're right, we are covered, but
They should sign a waiver.
we shouldn't,
Yeah.
the village residents shouldn't be on that shouldn't be on our dime.
Well, it's no different than when they use the waypoint. We have certain groups that use that, and we have a waiver
A
there,
waiver for
so-
that, so there's a form
Well,
for
a
that.
waiver and a certificate of
Yeah,
insurance.
right,
There
yeah.
should be a rental and use agreement in place. I don't know if we have one, but
I'm assuming there's the same things we already have for the
We
Waypoint
do.
Center.
Yep,
Yeah,
we have all those already drawn
and
up.
probably the Opera House as well. Those kinds of waivers and things, and liabilities and certificates, yeah. So we could do that, but a fee structure needs to be developed and isn't developed yet. And you don't know, and you don't at this point have any idea of how much time is going to be spent, how many days a week. Or even if she's gonna start now. We're
Right.
talking about something that's,
Right.
you know, not solidified.
The proposal that she had was 2 days a week, and she thought she'd be there roughly about 2 hours, which was basically a half an hour setup, an hour for the class, and half-hour breakdown. So it's probably gonna be less time than that, but that's what she was
Do you want to come
proposing.
back to us so we can see if we're good with it, or at this point, just come back, develop something, come back to us so we can review it and say we're good on it.
Yeah, I
All
can
the
work with the
pieces are
chief to
together.
do that.
Maybe she'll have talked to you by then.
Yep, I can reach out to her as well.
Are we good with that, gentlemen?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Next, the cleanup directive, that's the next one on there.
We're moving along with ours. I do have some questions about, so we have quite a bit of old gear. I'm talking gear that is probably, close to 20 years old. It's well beyond, it's gone beyond its lifespan. Getting rid of that, I don't feel comfortable putting in a dumpster. I am looking for other places to get rid of that, but there's stuff like helmets that have been there for probably since Wade was there. There's a bunch of stuff in the attic that we're starting to clean out. One of the things that was talked about was trying to find a spot or a means to get it to like third world countries that have. I know I've heard of people
Have
sending
any-
their used gear over there. I'm looking for permission to do that, just to get rid of it.
Oh, to find alternatives
Yes.
to distribute the
Yeah.
gear. Gentlemen, what do you think about that? I mean, sometimes collectors buy, people who like to
Could
buy
always-
fire gear would buy a
always
helmet,
sell it,
know?
yeah.
I don't know.
They're not the
Not
stuff
that popular
that's-
kind, they're also
yeah, they're not the
gross.
collector's item. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it. I think
I don't.
the sooner the better.
If you can
Okay.
find a way to, yeah,
If somebody can use it,
right.
yeah, so we're good with you. If you can
Okay.
find someone who'll use it, that's fine.
All right.
Last one is fire training.
Yes. I don't know why that's on there.
I don't know either.
Okay. My guess is Chuck has been talking about trying to get the three departments to work more together. So that's my guess. We have worked together in the past. I think he's trying to do a more formal thing, but that's my guess is why it's on there.
Well, out of curiosity, you're all three fire departments are represented on the fire committee, right?
Yes.
Wouldn't that be a good place to put this?
Yes.
Yes. Do we have any other thoughts on that? That kind of makes sense where, and you haven't had a committee meeting in a few months,
No,
not since before
no.
COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, that would make sense, yeah, try to get some kind of community effort from the three departments, I get that.
Okay.
Yeah, you're probably right, that's exactly why you had it on there.
All right.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay,
It looks like we're moving on to the fire and police and fire logs. We requested a change of format, so we can get the heart of what's important. Jake, you had something on that, didn't you?
Yeah, we get this report, and it's many, many pages long. I look through it for drug-related items, and don't often find any. But what I'd like to see is a kind of a quick reference. Sean's report is 1 page. I'd like to see a highlight of arrests made and drug incidents, anything involving drug incidents.
But there's
And
a
then-
priority as opposed to,
Yeah, and then if the department has this other information, that's fine, to keep the report or whatever, but I'd like to see something that would highlight to me the more significant things, the things that we're really interested in terms of, what the needs are in the village and,
Right, as opposed to something
And-
like a CIS or, yeah, they're checked on.
like a traffic thing or
Yeah,
whatever.
we
you know.
prefer
But I
something
mean,
like
if-
that.
If it leads to an arrest, then let's take a look at it. So I'd like to just see a,
Shannon?
So, these reports are automatically generated, and so you're talking about manual efforts, and if that will be okay. Our dispatcher is at capacity, so, and our police are all over capacity between their paperwork and patrolling, so just so you know, generating additional stuff from the police department right now will be overtime.
Okay.
So that it's want versus,
What format are those reports created in?
it's just generated like this.
Right,
it's,
but,
it's like a chronological.
It comes right out of their computer.
right, but you can convert that to a Excel spreadsheet and resort it like that. I mean, that might work exactly correctly. However, I can say using NEMRIC reports, which I've received in the past, and trying to
Right,
throw
I'm
them into
just
Excel
saying
doesn't
that-
always sort properly, but you can
I
get
I
most
would
of it.
not, I would not want to incur overtime.
And I don't think, and what I'm
it's,
saying is, I don't necessarily believe that changing that format would actually create overtime. The switched from one form to an Excel spreadsheet and then resorting the columns is
Police does not.
5 minutes?
Police does not have the converter from Word to, like, from whatever that gets generated out of.
Right, because we get it in a printed form. Maybe if someone sent it to me, I could see if I could twiddle with it, because I can do that.
Well,
I
let's-
use Excel all the time, it's my main
Well, this is
go-to.
just how it prints out for her.
Yeah, but we have a digital copy, someone, did you already send it to us? I'll see if I can manipulate what I've got.
What's wrong with just reading down through the lines?
Well,
and-
because the point is we don't need to see page after page after page after page of assists and so on and so forth,
No,
chasing
we
a dog.
don't.
But we'd like to get to the heart of
The other
it.
Right.
thing is
But
that,
we-
we are all very fearful to take anything out of a format that directly comes out of our systems and manipulate them,
Uh-huh.
in fear that we will then be called out on losing information, falsifying information, not providing accurate information, because whenever you do something manually, there's always that.
Right, but you're talking about the boards saying that? Because there's no money attached to this.
There's,
It's a non-monetary transaction.
I know, but there's a lot of pushback about drug activity and activities in the,
right.
and so
Uh.
manipulating data that is coming out of
Right.
police
Yeah.
activity is a very touchy subject.
I think in
Well,
this
it
raw
would
form,
seem-
it's, because you've had members on that want to see what's going on. It's also a public document. I know I've had people on the street ask me about it, said go to the website. It should be, they used to be in with the packets at one point, and I think the last conversation we had with the manager was that we're going to start getting this back onto the website on the packets. But if you start looking through it, other than looking for the drug information, there's other questions that a board member may have, is traffic on Route 121 on 721. There's other items in here such as motor vehicle complaint, Darby Hill, so I'm wondering,
We're not talking about eliminating any data, we're just saying reorganize it so that the drug activity, which is the one that costs us the money,
Right,
most
it
money,
would seem-
because of the amount of time they have to spend doing those things, would like to see how effective it is. For
Yeah.
years, we've thrown a lot of
My
money at
recommendation
policing
would-
and not
would
gotten a lot of
have an
value.
internal staff member manipulate data regarding
Right, I
police
agree with
activity
that.
at this time, given all of the
But let me
commotion
just say this, though, it would appear to me that let's say there's 25 things on the page and there's 20 pages, so there's 200, 300 entries. Somebody enters that, right? Isn't that a
This
time?
is generated by their police activity and what they put into the
So they
system.
don't enter anything into the computer? Nobody does anything to this, it just miraculously comes?
No.
No,
It's
someone
the
enters
police officer that enters what transaction happens on their shift,
When it happens.
So if I was saying that,
and the
what,
dispatch.
you don't have to enter all these things, you can just
No,
enter
that
the arrests?
is mandated to be
That's on their
generated.
No,
You cannot,
they have to forward that
there
report
are
to
state
some
and
state.
federal guidelines, that's
Oh,
what I'm saying.
okay.
This
All right.
report is mandated
Right.
and
This is-
created,
okay.
and that's why we're just giving it to you and not
Raw
creating
data, yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
additional information.
I appreciate it, thank you.
So it trouble if I manipulated the
You
data
can
by
go out-
resorting it?
Right, you can manipulate whatever you want. I'm just,
Right.
and I'm not saying the staff would be in trouble. What I'm saying is it would be one more thing to say, this doesn't match this.
Right, yeah.
We just got this report from you, and now this is posted online,
I
and
get it.
this doesn't match.
Okay, so.
We're trying to look at ways to evaluate the police department, and that,
And
you know, this doesn't
It's
help.
another, because
forward.
it's all random.
Yeah.
It's as it happens, not what's
But that's okay. I don't
floating
wanna
to the
create
top
a-
of priority,
I don't
and
wanna
what we
create
would look at as what's more important than what's less important. Now, to bring that up as a point, Stefan's correct. Finding activity on Route 121, which isn't necessarily in Rockingham, it could be a concern. But we can't tell, because on the very first page, it says 731, a case number, traffic, Route 121. We have no idea if it's in our municipality or if it's in the village.
Well, short of having the agreement of the 121 Route 5 and 103 patrol section, which I thought we weren't doing at the time.
Is that the governor's highway?
No.
It doesn't say that.
No.
Shouldn't it?
Well, I thought we were all done with Governor's Highway, was my understanding.
Yeah, I don't see any on the report.
We,
Well, anyway, that.
So, yeah, so you
Well,
understand the limitations, Jigs.
I think it would be easy enough to come up with like a one-page sheet like we get from the fire department that would focus on, you know, in addition to this printout they give us.
Yeah, I'm
In
just
addition to that printout, but just a sheet of the priority things that we want to see, because I have a couple as well,
Right,
which I
but-
agree.
right,
And
but
then
if she
I
has
think
to-
that would, well, I think that would be something that the new police chief could do easy enough for us.
Well, then we need to wait till that happens and see what
Right.
we can get, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
That's a
we don't want to cause the
That's a
dispatcher
good-
overtime.
That's a good suggestion.
Okay, so we'll wait. Okay. Any other wait, please, the board's not done. And I see that Sean wants to speak too. So did anyone else have any other questions concerning the fire and police logs?
No.
Okay, Sean.
It's not really my concern, but the program they use is Valcor,
Right.
and there are a number of different reports that you can do.
Yeah.
So maybe what you could do is have the dispatcher, and this literally takes a minute or two, just have her do a bunch of different reports, and those, instead of exporting and trying to sort, you may just find the reports that you want in a different format.
Out of the Valcor.
I always wondered why you guys wanted 35 pages of
so we
useless
presented
information.
them with all of the different options.
Have
When
you?
Alicia was here, we had brought, you guys remember there was like pie graphs and there was lists, so we had presented you with all the options the program offers.
When was that? Last year? 2019?
Probably about 6
So
months
you-
ago,
Okay.
but we can,
Yeah, I don't want to see pie charts or anything like that. It's
No.
just,
We just wanted to see the raw data
But
of
we don't want to create a new.
our drug
mousetrap
activity,
either.
certain types of outside of the village activity, you know, those kinds of things, whatever, you know, becomes pertinent.
Right.
Okay, so,
Okay.
new chief, good idea, Wade, thank you. Let us move on to, then we are at oh, wait a minute, Herrick's Cove, that's next. We had that discuss. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Mitchell, yes? I forgot you asked.
I will tell you that Wendy Jack, who is the head dispatcher at the Springfield Police Department, sends me the most serious cases that they have. As an example, a drug dealer from Bellows Falls drives around Bellows Falls the last 10 years on a criminal suspended license that lives on Century Street, was bused in Springfield, Vermont, and not Bellows Falls. And coincidentally, the town hall staff owns that house. It's a crack house. Now, that was one. I'll send you the other ones you're going to read about the other fine citizens from Bellows Falls that are selling drugs up in Springfield. They have no problem separating that stuff. But Bellows Falls police do. They don't want you to know why the police were in this building for 2.5 hours the other day.
All right,
In
Mr.
my building.
Thank you.
There's nothing in the press release about it. 2.5 hours.
All right, Mr. Mitchell, you've hit your minute, I'm afraid. But we get the point. Thank you.
I made myself clear.
You have. Thank you for the input. Moving on to the next item is Herrick's Cove. We have that conversation about it still being done since Great River Hydro chose to stop using the Wyndham County Sheriffs, I guess, to take care of that. We've been taking care of it since then. So since sometime last year, summer, fall, something like that. We've been handling it, which means an officer goes up there every day of the week, and on Fridays, Saturdays, locks the gate after doing a turnaround to see if there's any trouble up there. And there were concerns, and we're also concerned about the amount of, with a possible scheduling change that might alter the pattern of policing in the village. It would be a great concern to us that someone leaves the village and there's no coverage. So I believe that was the reason why you asked for it to be on there, Wade, or
Herrick's
Stephen?
Cove is a,
And
what
it's
I
a-
was under the impression was a directed patrol every night.
Yeah, it is.
That's what I was told.
And why? It's the town of Rockingham, it's not the village of Bellows Falls.
Well,
The town was paying, when the sheriff's office, when, they no longer wanted to take care of it, as, you know, we had to do something pretty immediate because of the drug activity up there, and so the town paid the village to patrol it.
The town is, I mean.
The town always has.
Right, but what revenue line would that go under?
yeah, because.
It's a transfer, and there's,
It's a transfer? I mean, you don't have to necessarily find it tonight, but I'd like to know, say in 2020,
What do we
in
get?
2019, or the FY 2020, excuse me, that would be up until June 30th, how much money the revenue was received by the village for that service?
I don't recall Wendy explaining it to me that
No,
way.
so if indeed that is being paid,
it's being transferred, and I'll look that up. for
okay,
you.
so just,
But
I don't care if this comes in an email, I'd just like to know
Yep,
that we're really receiving funds,
and I'm pretty sure the last meeting
For
I
that.
gave you the annual amount,
yeah.
too.
Shouldn't that be like in an inter-municipal agreement?
Yeah, I would
So
think
that
so. The reality is, this is just done
Right.
verbally. We don't have we have an intermunicipal agreement currently. I don't believe in it, and it should be just eliminated, but we should have one for this, because this is an active, ongoing need. We have an intermunicipal agreement currently for Route 121 and Route 5 as well. However, that agreement says they were supposed to track every action, every time, and any revenue that came in was supposed to be reported, and if it didn't say, if we weren't at least breaking even, we were supposed to terminate the contract. That never happened.
Well, let's find out what the revenue is first.
Yep, let's find out what the revenue is, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
And then let's put that on next month's. Okay, so that'll be another one for next month.
We estimate a total of about $3,000 for the summer. It's only done in the summer.
When did they stop? Why don't they do it, and then why don't they do it in the fall or winter? Drug activities doesn't,
It ends around Labor Day, because that's
That's-
when it's not busy up there. That's what the sheriff's.
so they
department-
don't lock the gate after that until spring? Yes.
Well, I think at the time,
We
I
were-
was told that the sheriff's department was paid $14,000.
Yeah. Yeah, they had a $14,000 contract. We got
But-
$3,000.
But they were up there and monitoring it, and they were locking the
Doing more?
gate 7 days a week,
Okay.
and we are not doing
Yeah,
it.
so I guess that would be something we need to understand too.
Yeah.
How many months of the year
Oh.
do we do that?
It's June, July, and August. In August, it's 6 hours. In June and July, it's estimated to be 24 hours each month.
So it's only those 3 months and we don't lock the gates the rest of the year. That's insane, considering the reason why we went to doing it in the first place.
So,
But okay.
so if I'm understanding this right, currently the town provides that service to
The
them?
town is paying the village to do it.
So the town's providing this
The
service?
Yeah.
For
To-
Greater
to
River
them.
Hydro to Harris
It's,
Cove.
well, no, Herrick's Cove, Great River Hydro was providing the service for us, really. They were doing a benefit to the town.
Oh, access
And-
to the
And they
to the
said,
cove.
we're no longer gonna do that. You need to take care of it yourself,
Okay.
because it's the town's property.
It's town property, but, so what part does Great River Hydro participate in? It's part of the FERC process to
Well,
provide something through that.
I don't
And the
believe
other-
that's town property.
And the other thing is the town
Yeah,
had
that's
a
also-
large discussion, the town had a discussion about it. And given how much taxes Great River Hydro paid and having a conversation, the select board agreed that they would take over this service from Great River Hydro. This was
Okay.
an entire conversation last year, and we did bring this to the board, and you guys did vote on it, the
Right.
payment to the village police from
We
the
did.
town.
I-
It was a
I-
motion, it was approved.
Right, but I don't know if we agreed on how long it would be or those kinds of things.
Yep.
So it's just worth understanding it
All the
fully.
details of it, just like this, were laid out when you guys made the motion.
Guess we'll need to see it again. Okay.
I guess it'd be good to see it all and
Yep.
reevaluate.
Yep, and reevaluate. Okay. So that'll be for the next meeting. I'll put it down on my list of stuff for the 8th. If we're done with this piece, then we
Mhm.
move on to police chief search committee update. Diggs.
I'm going to have a report, Jeff and I will have a report for you in executive session.
Okay.
The committee's work has been basically finished. So we're getting close to a recommendation.
All right, and maybe in executive session, you can tell us when you plan to do that.
Mhm.
Okay. All right, that would take us on to the last item on here, which is the police department overtime reduction.
That's her report.
We're going to get a report in executive session. It's still confidential. Yes, and they're going to tell us in executive session. It's moving to executive session. Police department overtime reduction. That was on here because I believe Mr. McAuliffe asked for it.
And we talked about it at the
We-
beginning, that
And we-
the overtime is a concern
Yep.
in this budget year, and we want all of the managers to be attentive to it. So
So you think really we've already covered it?
I think we've covered it. Yep.
Okay, we do have a couple of reasons to go into executive session. I don't believe we'll be seeing the attorney for one of them this evening, but that's okay, we can still move forward. Review agenda items for next meeting, September 8th, already developing a sale policy for village equipment or property. And the Herrick's Cove, we'd like to see, go back over, review the paperwork for that. That's 2 items I have. Anyone here have anything else?
What was your first one?
The first one was developing
The fee
is coming back with a
Yep.
discussion or
Well,
development of a sale policy for village
Actually,
items.
that, in my opinion, should be termed an asset disposal policy.
Okay, asset disposal policy, please put it that way. I'm fine, I don't care what linguistics you use.
Well, no, it doesn't make a difference on what you're getting rid
No,
of.
that's fine. Assets, that covers
Covers
everything
everything.
we sell, okay.
Been down that road
All
before.
right, and the other one is reviewing Herrick's Code paperwork.
And a
Okay.
fee structure for the usage of the fire station?
Yes, that's another one, the usage of the fire station. As well. Okay, review agenda items for the joint board meeting. My understanding is we will be having a meeting on the 18th to talk about the manager, specifically about the manager search.
And that would be it.
Yep. So that's September 18th, August 18th. That's
Now,
next
don't
Tuesday.
have-
The public
Next
or
Tuesday.
executive session?
For,
That'll be an executive session, all of it.
for the
Yes.
meeting on the 8th,
Yep.
could we get an update of the progress on the building projects, the furnace project, et cetera?
Oh, on the public safety building?
Public safety building,
Okay,
yeah.
so update on projects of public safety building, okay. Okay. Again, we have one item for the joint board agenda on August 18th. Review and approve orders, bills, and warrants. These
So
are the
moved.
okay, and these are the folders that we still have signatures to get.
Oh, okay.
Right. So, okay, need a second on the movement?
Need a what?
A second.
I'll suck it up.
So do you need a chance to look at them before you sign off on them? I mean, that's the whole point of approving
Oh,
orders,
okay.
bills, and
No, I
warrants
was
is
at a
if
sec-
you,
I was
do-
at-
if
no,
you
I-
have a question on one of them,
No,
you might want to.
I did earlier, but
see
Brian,
that.
Brian answered it already.
I mean, that's why Gaetano and I sign them in advance, so they can pay the payrolls and pay the
Well,
bills.
and they've been getting them all virtually.
have.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah.
Just want to make sure they have nothing they wanted to review before,
No, Brian answered my question. I was on the tanks.
Well,
All
what
right.
about the tax sale? Was that,
We're
That-
outsourcing it.
Outsourcing.
Well, I know we're out-
Ray
what-
Masuko
what's-
is
where do
working
we
on that, right,
stand?
yeah.
We're just getting the collection from, taxes were due on the 10th, so we might as well wait until,
At least the end of the week to figure out
right.
who's paying and who's not.
Right.
So we're ready to go then, right?
Well, I'm
Just
gonna hand it
about,
over to the attorney.
Okay.
yeah. And if people come in and set up an agreement to pay, so then
Well,
that's
that's
gonna
just
take
the
them off.
thing, yeah.
Yep,
And at this time, we can't, there's no eviction, so.
right, yeah, still. Yeah. Okay. I'll give Jeff a chance to see if he sees anything he wanted to ask about before we go forward.
I reviewed these on,
You good?
online, yep.
All right. All right, so all those in favor of approving the orders, bills, and warrants, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, other business, start on your end. Stefan, what do you think? Anything?
We're good.
Okay. Wade?
Two things. I have just wanted to pass along that a couple citizens just wanted me to get it out there that they're concerned that not enough is being done regarding vandalism and drugs on the south end of Green Street. They were pretty frustrated with what's been going on there, I guess. I don't know all the history about it, but anyway, I told them I'd pass it along for hopefully something maybe the new chief can dig into.
Good. And I think, and I'm not sure if it's gonna be the same people you talked to, but I talked to somebody too a few weeks ago. And you
Could
talked
be.
to somebody as
Yeah.
well. Yes. The street's an up and coming, bad environment.
The other-
James. Oh, I'm sorry, you had something else.
Yeah, the other thing is, I'm not sure if you're aware of it, and I'm glad Brian's still here, but we had, back in late July, there was the town fire department took some Bellows Falls water off the hydrant in Rockingham to, I believe, the way I understand it, possibly fill a pool? Something to that. Right.
Oh,
It wasn't being used for fire service.
they filled a tanker to go fill a pool? Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
so I talked to Brian and it triggered the alarm at Whitney Blake, or at least possibly, maybe had something to do with it. So the long and short of it is I think we should send the town of Rockingham a bill for, I figured it'd come up to $71
Oh, a gallonage?
100 cubic feet.
for non-authorization of, I mean, technically the village users of that system are the ones that
I'm paying for it.
paying for that.
Yeah, that's true.
And, I mean, we don't know all the details other than it did occur. It was actually on July 27th around noon time, plus or minus a half hour.
Wow.
And, you know, based on just one truckload at 3,000 gallons, it's $71, correct?
Without labor.
What's up?
Well, it was free labor as well.
Oh, it's
Right. So, I think we should be reimbursed through the town for that somehow.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I remember when I was
And
a kid,
actually,
free fills on your pool, but usually the fire department would charge you something for doing that service, and that means they had to get their water from someplace too, so.
I just thought I'd throw that out there. I
Did they charge, do you know where they dumped it? Or,
I don't know. I'm assuming they typically they do it because they get a donation.
Right.
You know, somebody donates $50 or $100 to,
yeah,
which in my opinion is a whole different issue. I don't even think they should, fire departments should
Was
be
this
in that.
our fire department?
No, Rockingham.
No, Rockingham
Oh, Rockingham.
volunteer. That's why
They
he's
went to
saying
the
that
hydrant. Our
village
hydrant.
users
Yeah.
didn't use that water.
Filled up the truck, went and
Wow.
did something with it.
Because I think they have a hydrant down at their shed in Rockingham, don't they now?
well, that's, if you want to go out of the
They
pond.
got a well. They got a well
Right.
there, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway.
This was done at the hydrant by Sonic
Okay.
Off
in
the
the
system.
industrial park.
That's a no-no.
So you said it set an alarm off?
Well, most likely at the same time frame, the sprinkler alarm, it was an accidental trip of the sprinkler alarm at Whitney Blake.
Oh,
So, in response to that, the two fire departments responded. So, I mean, typically, there was no fire there, and typically that would have been caused by the water being open and closed, correct?
They had a problem with their system.
They did have a problem with their system, but this,
There was no variation for,
right,
Oh, pressure?
yeah.
Right,
Okay.
okay.
so if it just moved a half a pound, triggered their alarm.
Right.
Because actually, when our north end tank fills, that does a 2 or 3 pound.
Yeah.
And that did set it off a couple times.
well, this is
Okay.
gonna open a can of worms, okay. But I mean, you're right, I mean, it is what it is, and it's village users who pay for the water. So
Yeah, I just think the town should be billed for it and let them
figure out.
it on their end how they want to deal with it. As long as we
Okay,
get our $71 of water we made,
Yeah?
yeah,
or that Brian and his people made.
we'll have to have a
So
conversation
why don't we
with them.
have Chuck have a conversation with them, and
Chuck did have a conversation.
We did.
It's not gonna happen again.
Okay, it's not gonna happen again, but it's already happened,
Okay.
so, yeah. Okay, so we're gonna see what we need to deal with it. We'll see what we can do. All right. You good?
Nope.
Okay, Jigs.
I would just like to pay tribute to Gary DeRocha. I have been a loyal customer of the recycling center for the last 15 years and have been very pleased with the job that Gary and his crew have done. I read in the paper that there was this committee that was formed, and I looked at the membership of the committee, and I was just baffled. I would really like to see the town select board, who has responsibility for the transfer station, get involved and see what exactly happened here. But I think it's a shame. We've lost a great manager of that operation, and I just feel very badly the way it was handled, particularly the way it was handled.
Jeff? Nothing? Okay, we do have, the only thing I would say is, wear your masks, wear your masks, wear your masks. Children will be going to school, starting back at school about September 8th. I don't want to say it that way. The boards have decided to choose the hybrid method for school, which means 2 days at school, 3 days off. Even though today it came out that the Vermont Education Board has chosen to basically push for 5 days in school for children from kindergarten through 5th grade, and have to reduce the distancing from 6 feet to 3. And that's from Dan French of the Vermont Education Board. So I'm really kind of upset that we've gone forward. A lot of our parents, who I'm very sympathetic of their needs to get back to work, and their children's need, especially young children, to be educated with the new requirements, but the SU has already chosen the hybrid path, so.
well, Dan, maybe we should give Dan French the benefit of the doubt. Maybe that age group between kindergarten and 5th grade can better maintain social distance and keep the mask
And maybe
on.
so, but the SU has already made that decision, they're already going forward with it, so here we are. And I had my say, even though I like it. We have two executive sessions tonight, basically both
won't
concerning
censor you here.
union, huh?
We won't censor you.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Somebody will see it and give me crap about it later. Concerning contracts and employees, mainly contracts. So which one would it be?
Contractual
It's
matters and employment.
probably union matters most likely at this point.
Are we doing 1 or 2 sessions?
Yeah, we're doing 1 or 2 sessions. We had this purpose, and also the search. So we do have to do that. So we'll need to do number 2. I'll do 1. The appointment or employment or evaluation of a public officer or employee, but the public body must make a final decision to hire or appoint in an open meeting, and it must explain the reasons for its final decision. 1 VSA 313A3.
And who are you inviting?
And I'm inviting, well, it's just board members.
Just the board members,
Unless,
yeah.
do you need to be here for this one? Yes, no?
That's up to you guys.
Yeah. We know we need to do, but,
I don't think
I think we're
Shannon needs
good,
to
but
be.
that's the second one. This is on the employment, so, we need a second on this motion.
I'll suck it
Low
up.
pressure line going off here or something?
No, somebody doesn't realize I'm still in a meeting. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And do we need a second one for that? No. The other one is on labor relations, so if you'd like to do that, number 8. We
Number
need 2
8.
motions on that one. That's the first and second.
Right.
It's on labor relations, it's union related, so.
Yeah, I'd like to make the motion that we enter into an executive session
Thank you.
to discuss labor relations and agreements with employees where premature general knowledge may clearly place the municipality at a substantial disadvantage by negotiating and reason, strategy, litigation, etc., per Vermont State Statute 1 VSA, I believe 313A1, if I'm correct.
Okay, need a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, and then do the second one.
Okay, I move that the Board of Trustees enter into an executive session to discuss the labor relations agreements with employees, contract with employees under provisions of Title I, 313A1 of the Vermont statutes.
Need a second? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We're now going into executive session.